Hello students, welcome to Virtual Classroom. This is the second video of chapter number 10, that is Human Health and Diseases. In the last video, we have seen the concept of immunity, types of immunity, then structure of antibody and antigen, and human blood group system. So today we will study human diseases. Before going to diseases, first of all we should understand what is the difference between pathogens and parasites. So pathogens, they are living agents like viruses, bacteria, fungi, yeast and protozoa. Pathogenicity is the ability of an organism to enter a host cell and cause disease. And parasite, it is an organism that lives in or on and takes nourishment from another organism. These parasites, they are of two types, ectoparasites and endoparasites. So first we'll study disease called amoebiasis. So the parasite which causes this disease is called Entamoeba histolytica. And this disease is transmitted by fecal-oral route or through dirty hands or through dirty objects, through anal-oral contact and through contaminated food and water. Symptoms of this disease, they are mild to moderate diarrhea to dysentery with blood and mucus in stool. If parasite reaches liver, causes amoebic abscesses. And preventive measures need to be taken. They are wash hands regularly with soap or hot running water after use of toilet or after toileting, and after changing baby's diaper, and before handling food, that is either eating or before cooking. Even we should avoid eating raw vegetables, and we need to drink boiled water, then use of clean bathrooms and toilets, and daily bathroom and toilets need to be clean. Even filtration of water supply is very much necessary. Water which is we are getting from municipality areas. So in this slide you can see the parasite, that is the Entamoeba histolytica. It has the outer membrane called plasma lemma, then ectoplasm, then inner to ectoplasm is endoplasm. In the endoplasm there are food vacuoles and nucleus, and in the nucleus there is present endosome. Next is malaria. It is mosquito-borne infectious disease, and 4 species of Plasmodium are known. These are Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae. So out of the 4, 3 are responsible for the malaria, that is Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale and Plasmodium malariae. Symptoms seen are fever, sweating, chills, headache, joint pains, anemia, vomiting, convulsions, hypoglycemia, that is lowering of blood sugar level, then hepatomegaly, that is the enlargement of liver, then hemoglobinuria, means RBC broken down, and these RBCs, they are then seen in the urine, then coma and ultimately death in case of severe conditions. Now if you see host in which this parasite lives or divides or multiplies, these are host like human beings, and female Anopheles mosquito. So two hosts are there. Then prevention of this malaria can be done by use of mosquito nets, then insect repellents, and draining standing water. So mosquito larvae, they can be controlled by gamete of fish. Means we can use this fish in standing water. So the spread of larvae of this mosquito can be avoided. Now if we see life cycle of Plasmodium, when mosquito bites a person, sporozoites of this mosquito Plasmodium, they enter the bloodstream, they migrate to the liver. They infect liver cells where they multiply into merozoites. They rupture the liver cells and escape into the bloodstream. Then merozoites infect red blood cell where they develop into ring forms and tropozoites, and then they turn to produce further merozoites. So within the RBCs, the parasites multiply asexually, periodically breaking out of their host to invade fresh red cells, and several such amplification cycles occur. And such classical description of waves of fever then can be seen from simultaneous waves of merozoites escaping and infecting RBCs. So when the mosquito bites human beings, we can see malaria develops via then two phases, and pre-erythrocytic and erythrocytic phase. The pre-erythrocytic phase involves infection of the liver, and the erythrocytic phase involves infection of the erythrocytes or RBCs. So these are the two phases. Next is filariasis. Filariasis is caused by ringworm, or you can say nematodes. So there are 9 known filarial nematodes which are divided into 3 groups. According to the niche within the body they occupy, and these are lymphatic filariasis, subcutaneous filariasis, serous cavity filariasis. Lymphatic filariasis is caused by Wucheria bancrofti, Brugia malayi, and Brugia timori. Now, coming to the life cycle of this parasite, that is the Wucheria bancrofti. See, filariasis is an infectious tropical parasitic disease. So, human filarial nematode worms have a complicated life cycle which primarily consists of 5 stages. After mating of male and female worms, the female gives birth to thousands of live microfilariae, and the microfilariae, they are taken up by the vector insect during a blood meal. So in the intermediate host, the microfilariae molt and develop into third stage of larvae. Upon taking another blood meal, the vector insect injects the infectious larvae into the dermis of the skin, and after about 1 year, the larvae mold through 2 more stages, maturing into adult worms. So here you can see the figure of microfilariae. At the mouth end, you can see body sheet, then nerve ring is present, excretory pore is there. Below the excretory pore, you can find bladder is there. somatic cells are present, then interior mass is present. Then at the tail point or the tail region, you will find 4 large cells. Besides that, anal pore is present. Now, symptoms of this filariasis can be seen such as edema with thickening of skin and underlying tissues. Edema means swelling. And filariasis is also called as elephantiasis. It occurs when parasite lodge in the lymphatic tissues. And because of this, we can see big size legs of such patient. So that's why its name is given as elephantiasis also. And it affects lower extremities like legs and arms, then vulva, breast and scrotum. Management of this disease can be done by avoiding mosquito bites and detection of microfilariae in endemic areas. Means there are chances of spread of diseases. Such areas can be controlled by keenly observing and detecting the presence of microfilariae. Next is ascariasis. It is caused by Ascaris lumbricoides and it is an endoparasite. It is long, slender and tapered at both ends. In case of ascariasis, only one host is there, that is the human beings. And this worm, it is present in GI tract, that is the digestive system or gastrointestinal tract, and fecal matter. So modes of transmission, you can say these are food or drinks which are contaminated with eggs of these worms. So eggs hatch inside intestine of host and then larvae, they pass through various organs and settle as adult in digestive system. So the symptoms can be seen as discomfort in GI tract with vomiting and fever, and presence of live worms in fecal matter, live worms, and there is loss of appetite, and because of this there is loss in weight. Even pulmonary disorders can be seen like pneumonitis. And if we see blood count of these patients, we will find increased eosinophils. WBCs, they consist of number of cells like neutrophils, basophils. One of them is eosinophil. So increased in number of eosinophils can be seen. And this disease can be diagnosed by microscopic stool examination. And drugs, again, this can be used, which are called as antihelminthic drugs, such as piperazine, then mebendazole, then levamisole. These are the drugs. And preventive measures can be taken, such as avoiding defecation in open spaces. Personal hygiene habit should be maintained and it should be practiced regularly. Then use of washed vegetables, means washing of vegetables thoroughly should be done. Now if you see life cycle of Ascaris, so human being is a definitive host for worm and is present in GI tract and fecal matter. So ingestion of infective eggs from contaminated vegetables and water is the primary route of infection. Adult worms live in the lumen of the small intestine, and a female worm may produce nearly 200,000 eggs per day, which are passed with the feces. Then unfertilized eggs may be ingested but are not infective. So fertile eggs develop into embryos and become infective after 18 days to several weeks, and it depends upon the conditions, that is the environmental conditions, means optimum moist or warm or shaded soil. After infective eggs are swallowed, the larvae hatch and invade the intestinal mucosa, and then they are carried via circulation to lymphatic and the lungs. So the larvae mature further in the lungs 10 to 14 days and penetrate the alveolar walls of the lungs, ascend the respiratory tract to the throat, and then they are swallowed. So upon reaching the small intestine, they develop into adult worms. 2-3 months are required at least from ingestion of the infective eggs to oviposition by the adult female. And adult worms can live for nearly 1 to 2 years. So therefore, first appearance of eggs in stool is after 60 to 70 days. And in larval ascariasis, symptoms occur nearly from 4 to 16 days after infection. In the next slide, you can see ascariasis eggs which are fertilized, the above one, and down unfertilized eggs, and adult ascariasis which has pharynx, then mouth, then excretory opening is there, intestine is there, uterus is there, then even genital opening is there, ovary is there, and last point is anus. So this is the figure of ascariasis, and we have learned how this spreads. So these are the few diseases which we have learned today. Now in the next video we will see some more diseases. I hope you have understood my today's lecture. Till then, take care students. Goodbye.